You're listening to Track Talk with the RacinBoys, brought to you by McCarthy Chevrolet in Olathe, or visit them online at McCarthyChevyKC.com.
Welcome back to the final segment of Track Talk here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Don't forget hour number 2 exclusively on RacinBoys.com. Go over there, click on TV Live, and you can watch Kirk and I in the studio. And don't forget the show is brought to you by McCarthy Chevrolet. Went out to McCarthy Chevrolet this week, hung out there for a few hours, sold a couple cars. My girlfriend, her daughter, Stephanie, bought her a new Equinox out there. Her friend as well bought a new car. So 2 more cars on the RacinBoys list at McCarthy Chevrolet. Don't forget, you can save huge money on Silverados right now, up to $12,000. Or if you don't want the $12,000, you can get 0% interest on a Silverado pickup today at McCarthy Chevrolet. Or check them out on the line, McCarthyChevyKC.com, and make sure you tell them the RacinBoys sent you. Well, joining us now on the show is a guy that we've known for a long time, way back in his Topeka days. Jade Gurss joins us now, and we're going to talk about his new book, In the Red, the 2001 season with Dale Earnhardt Jr. Jade, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
We're doing well, and I'm showing the people that are watching this online right now your book. And, Kirk has been reading the book. I haven't had a chance to get into it yet because we have the one copy here. But after watching the day last night and all the emotions that went through the death of Dale Earnhardt and what Dale Jr. had to go through, and then on top of it, have this book to kind of explain the emotions of Dale Earnhardt Jr. Wow, just what a read, Kirk says. Tell us a little bit about the book, first of all, Jake.
Well, it's certainly been something that I've been sort of pondering and thinking through for at least the last decade, and felt like the time was right, but I have to admit, I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out because, you mentioned the documentary that's been on Speed, a superb documentary, really gives a lot of details about the day that Dale Earnhardt was killed. But obviously, I wanted to tell that as well as I could, but I also wanted to show how Dale Jr. and the rest of the team sort of persevered through just unquestionable grief, and then eventually came back triumphant, came back to Daytona and won again there in July, and won the first race after 9/11. And so there really were sort of 3 major movements of the book that I wanted to explore, and so that's part of the thread of the story as we go through the 01 season.
The one thing that stood out to me again, and it's been so long, you have to kind of restart your hard drive in your mind to go back and think about some of the things that took place back in that day. But going to Rockingham the next week, and the wreck that he had was so glaring because it was at that dreaded 35 to 40 degree angle the following week on the first lap. I mean, his mind full of emotion, and then having that wreck, not wanting to be there at the track. Just take us through that first stage of dealing with the death of his father, and then going and not wanting to be at Rockingham, and then having that accident on top of it.
Yeah, that weekend was such a really strange time for a lot of us. It was cold, it was rainy, it just the weather felt like it was mirroring what everyone's emotions were. And there was a small comfort in the fact that, for many of us, being at the track feels like home. So in a strange way, being at the track was sort of cathartic, or was helpful to many of us. But then to have the race start and on lap 1 have Dale Jr. Pushed into the wall, that was just beyond anyone's comprehension. I think Ty Norris, who was Junior's spotter at the time, had the best quote. He said he just felt like vomiting. It was just such a sickening sight, and so it was really an awful weekend. And yet the race, the remainder of the race was rained out. The next day was bright and sunny, and then Steve Park, who was driving for Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, went out and won the race on Monday. But yeah, the Rockingham weekend, it was very, very rough on all of us. That's for certain.
Jade Gurss is joining us. He is the author of In the Red, the story of Dale Earnhardt Jr. during the 2001 season. You were with Dale before his father was killed. You were with him after. Talk about the difference before and after, and what kind of a driver Dale Earnhardt Jr. became after the tragic accident of his father.
In person, for that matter, yeah.
Yeah, and again, I talk about it in the book. His public persona, he just kind of developed kind of a stoic sense about him, just kind of a clenched jaw, and that really was kind of how he was off the track as well. Very close and guarded with his emotions, and really persevered through just things that no human should have to go through. But it really, the cliche is, oh, he became a man overnight, and I hope I didn't use that cliche in the book, but
right.
He certainly realized that it was now his time to sort of grow up and to be more of an adult, and he I don't think he really changed as a person. He just matured as a person, matured into much more of an adult. But I think that's really on show throughout the book. He really handled everything very well, and again, sort of the part 3 of the book is how he came back from that pain and really thrived by the end of the season.
Jade, you talked about a conversation that Dale Jr. had with Kyle Petty. Of course, Kyle had lost his son about 8 months before the tragic death of Dale Earnhardt Sr. How important that conversation was between Kyle Petty and Dale Jr. To allow Dale to continue on?
Oh, I think it was immensely important. In the days after Dale's death, I think Dale Jr. really struggled. He really questioned what his role would be. I think he wondered a lot, would the staff at DEI, would the public expect him to instantly step up and become what his dad had been? And after a week or so of struggling with that at the track at Rockingham, Kyle Petty spent about an hour with him, and they had really a great heart-to-heart. And essentially Kyle told him, look, you're 26 years old. Your job is to drive the race car. You do that as well as you can, and let everyone else handle the business and the rest of it, and things will take care of themselves. And it was a discussion that really, I think, lifted a lot of weight off of Dale Jr.'s shoulders and really helped him focus on what he needed to do or what he could do best. And so I think I probably could have played it up a little more in the book, because it really was really a critical moment for Jr. moving forward and sort of getting past it all.
Yeah, because I don't think anybody can imagine the immense enormity of the situation. I mean, anybody to lose a father, but lose a father in this public a way, and 200 employees at DEI, he must have really felt the weight of the world unlike anybody we've ever known.
Oh, absolutely. And his dad was his team owner. His dad was his hero. I mean, you can see how grief-stricken he was on a dozen levels, and it just really was a really heavy weight on him, and luckily people like Kyle really stepped up and really kind of helped him sort of work through some of that. But for a while, he definitely felt that the pressure or the weight of the sport and of his dad's legacy was 100% on his back, on his shoulders, and it was a struggle for him, a rough time for him.
Yeah, we're speaking with two-time New York Times bestselling author Jade Gurss about his book, In the Red, the 2001 season with Dale Earnhardt Jr. Has Dale Earnhardt Jr. Recovered from all of this? He's got a lot of pressure on him. Not only did he have the pressure, to succeed after the passing of his death. A lot of people put their stock into Dale Earnhardt Jr., but now he has the pressure of driving for the best team in motorsports when it comes to NASCAR, Rick Hendrick organization. What do you take out of that, and how does he deal with all this pressure? He's not afraid to put pressure on himself, that's for sure.
No, one of the things I think I admire most about him is his ability to deal with that sort of pressure. And I think he realized very early, as a teenager, that people were going to expect immense things out of him merely because of his first and last name. And I think he understood that, he as an individual was not the same person as his father. His personality was much different. And I don't think he ever put the pressure on himself to be what his father was. I mean, obviously he strives for that. He wants to be a champion. He wants to win. But I don't think he ever personally put that pressure upon himself to people that expected him to win 7 championships and things like that. Right. Now, when you come to the scenario of Hendrick Motorsports, he very clearly understood the pressure when he chose to go drive for Mr. Hendrick. He knew that was the best team. He knew they would have the best equipment, and that that the pressure was squarely upon him to succeed and to deliver. And from my outsider standpoint, I've not worked with him for a couple of years, but I think for a while the pressure was getting to him. But I feel like the last year or so, he just seems a little more at ease with it. He seems a little less stressed at the track. There for a while, we really never saw the smile or the swagger that he had during the Budweiser years, and I think some of that's coming back, and I hope that's a great sign that he's going to really go out and have a great season this year.
All right, we're up at the top of the hour. Jade, what do you expect out of Junior this year? It seems like him and Steve Letarte have really got a great chemistry, maybe the best chemistry we've seen since Tony Jr. What do you expect out of him?
Absolutely. I have high expectations, and I agree with you. I think Steve's personality has really been superb for Junior. I think they get along great. I think Junior's confident, and I think that's a dangerous combination of elements. I think they're going to do really well.
Hey, interesting story that involves Kansas City. Dale Jr. was at Kansas Speedway on 9/11. You were with your folks, your family in Topeka, and air traffic was banned, and you drove all the way back to North Carolina. Quickly tell that story.
Yeah, that was a strange day. After the attacks, all of the track safety workers, medical staff, everyone basically just disappeared. They all obviously had their emergency plans in place, so that the test was canceled. And everyone was just kind of stunned. That we were just in shock at the track, and we had rented 2 vans to help get the crew to and from the track, and we were not able to fly. So basically, I think it was 12 or 13 of us packed all of our bags, and all of us squeezed into these 2 vans, and we left Kansas City, I think, about 2 in the afternoon, and headed straight back to Charlotte. It was incredibly strange, a very, very odd day, but it was that was where we were at, right at Kansas Speedway, which had just been opened or was brand new when 9/11 came around.
Yeah. All right, Jade, if people want to find your book, they can go to octanepress.com. They can find it there. Is there any other places they can find it?
Bookstores, right?
Yeah, Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble. A lot of your bookstores should be have it in stock now. If not, let them know about it. But they can certainly order it, and I sure appreciate you guys having me on to chat about it.
Thank you very much, Jade. It's been a thrill.
Thank you. All right, there's Jade Gurss, a good guy, by the way. And one of our own here. So definitely check out the book, In the Red, the 2001 season of Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Must read. If you're a NASCAR fan, you got to read this book.
It's definitely a good one. All right, Kirk, shootout tonight. Got any predictions before we let everybody go?
I don't have a clue, Scott. You give me a name, and then I'll just kind of bounce off that. Who do you think? I'm going to say Casey Kane wins that race. I'll beat you to it.
Casey Kane.
Casey Kane, his first ride in Hendrick Motorsports number 5, he wins.
Am I going to sound like a homer if I say Clint Boyer's going to win his first time out in the 15 5-hour energy drink car? Would I sound too much like a homer?
You're too much a homer.
Maybe just a little bit. But that's who I'm rooting for, him or Carl Edwards, so it's going to be good. All right, don't forget, hour number 2 coming up on RacinBoys.com. Click on TV Live. You can watch us in the studio. Hour number 2 is brought to you by McCarthy Chevrolet, as is hour number 1 here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Tonight, we're going to get a late start on the Bud Shootout, but they will come to it at some point. Kirk, you want to get something
thanks
in?
to Jed Marshall for helping us out again.
Jed, good job, my friend. Good job. All right, hour number 2 of Track Talk on RacinBoys.com. Coming up here in a moment. For Kirk, I'm Scott. We'll see you next week here on Track Talk.